Hey guys, this lock is a pretty cool lock. This is one of the first locks in the US that was ever deemed high security. I'm going to put a link to the patent application in my description so you guys can check it out if you want to. This was patented in either 1959 or 1960, and they only produced them from 61 to 62 before Eagle Lock Corporation went out of business. Here's the key. It's got a row of bitting on top, which is for wafers, not pin tumblers, and then it's got a row here on the side. It's got a slider cut, and that corresponds with 4 sliders in the side of the lock that engage with a sidebar. Very well executed. As you can see here, you got patented Eagle Lock Corporation, do not duplicate, and what I assume is a key code. These locks were used by the IRS for a little while, and they were also, from what I've been reading, they were also used in missile launch silos, command silos for missile launches. So, kind of a cool lock, a little bit of history behind it. Pretty neat. The patent information is, it's as fun as patent information can be, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see how these designs, even though it was a long time ago, this is the kind of stuff that lock makers still do today. I mean, they still use some of these similar designs today. So, I'm going to use bottom of the keyway here. I'm going to go in here and push all these sliders up. I'm going to rake the wafers in case a wafer's binding first. That way we can focus on the sliders for now. And I'll just periodically go up there and rake the wafers to make sure I'm not bound up on one of them. Now, the really cool thing to me about this lock, if you read the patent information, is this lock, even though it was made in the 60s, so it was made quite a while ago, it's over 50 years old, even though this lock was made in the early 60s, the sliders had false gates on them. So it was definitely very well thought out. The sliders have multiple false gates, and it definitely makes for a tricky pick. Now, I think they could have gone with pin tumblers, and it would have been a little more secure than a wafer. Wafers are pretty easy to rake, in my experience. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort to rake a wafer into place. Okay, I got a little turn on the core there. I feel like I've set sliders 1 and 2. So now we're going to try to get back to the back here and work on number 3 and 4. 3 feels good. Every time I get a click out of one of these sliders, I'm going to go just move back up and kind of scrub the wafers again to make sure that that's not what's holding us up. I did pick this lock once. The first time, I think it was literally just sheer luck. I picked it in like less than a minute, and I haven't been able to pick it again at all since. I've got a couple hours into it now. I picked it the first time just to see if I could, and then I was going to record a video. I think this is my 4th attempt at recording this video, and I try to keep my videos under 10 minutes. I've allowed myself to go to 20 on this one if I need it. But the last 3, the first attempt was over 15 minutes and I stopped the video. The next attempt was I was at 22 minutes when I stopped the video. My 3rd attempt, which I just stopped a few minutes ago, so I guess this is my 4th attempt, not my 5th. My 3rd attempt was, again, over 20 minutes when I stopped the video. 21, I think. And, yeah, I've gotten to about where I'm at right this second. Like, right now, I'm as far as I've been. I've got what appears to be a slight, almost like false set going. the keyway is kind of facing up towards the L instead of being straight up towards the G. But that's about as far as I've gotten. So we'll see if I can make something happen here. I think the hardest part with this lock is how well these sliders were designed. The false gates are very hard to distinguish from the true gates. It feels like all of them bind the whole time. Even when you get the true gate, it feels like it still binds, and I think the reason for that is that the cuts for the false gates and the true gates are the exact same width. Based on the diagrams that I saw, this lock can't be taken apart. Once you get the plug out, that's it. Everything else is crimped in place and it's all sealed. You can't disassemble it. But the key that I have is not an operating key for this lock. It's just, it goes to one of these locks. It is the key for this model of lock, but it's not the key to this particular one. And so the interesting thing about it is the difference between the true gate and the false gate is almost imperceptible. I can't determine which is which. I'm not very familiar with picking sliders either, so that might play a part, but I can't determine which is a true and which is a false gate on this. Now I'm using this Tron from Sparrows because it fits in here pretty nicely, and I feel like it's got enough of a hook to give me good placement on each individual slider, but not so much of a hook that I'm rubbing against both sides of the keyway as I turn it sideways because I don't have dimple picks. Dimple picks would probably make this easier, where I could center the side of the flag underneath one of the sliders and then operate it that way, manipulate it that way. But I don't have dimple picks. I'll be getting some soon, but I don't have any right now. So my method here is I'm just kind of manipulating the sliders up and down in kind of an alternating fashion until I feel some sort of feedback. There has to be a slight difference between the false gate and the true gate, in my opinion, at least. Okay, there we go. I just got a little turn on the core, so I feel like I found a true gate somewhere. And I think that's the only perceptible difference that I'm going to see in this, is that when I find a true gate, I might get a slight turn on the core, because the true gate will be a little bit deeper than the false gate, and it might let the core just have a little bit of give. Even then, it's really not easy to get any kind of feel in this lock. I'm gonna grab another pick here. I'm gonna try a half diamond. See if maybe I can't isolate these sliders a little better. And it'll probably be better for the raking aspect of it too. There we go. Got her open. Okay. There you go. You can see it is open. Keyway is freely turning. Now I'm going to pop it apart. Like I said, it can't be disassembled. So I'm going to pull this roll pin out of here. Don't lock that back up. Okay, this thing is really in there. Just a second. No. You guys are just gonna have to trust me because I'm not picking it again. Oh, wow. Okay, let's try a punch. I had this out once before. I don't know how I got it out that time. Oh, there it goes. Let me find that. Okay. Alright, let's pop this guy out of here. I'll show you what I mean. So this is just a little washer that I'll slide it off. Oh, I gotta depress the sidebar. Gotta line all the sliders up. The sliders I don't believe are spring-loaded. Once you line them up by hand, they don't really appear to move. Okay, well, and there I'm stuck in a false gate with the washer around it. So, great. There we go. Okay. Oh, now I got the fourth one in a false gate. Okay. Now that all those are straight, let's try to get this thing off of here. Okay. There we go. So here you can see there's the 4 sliders. There. Here. Which I guess that one's bottomed out. So there they are, sticking out of the bottom. These are your sliders, right here. And when they sit flush like that, when they're all squared flush, so you can see what happens here. The sliders themselves interface with the core. You can see in the core here. If I can get the light to cooperate. You can see the little tracks on the bottom. This one is for the wafers. If I can get that to focus. That one's for the wafers right there. And then that one's for the sliders. And then on the top is the same configuration. You've got one track for the wafers, one track for the sliders, and then here's the track for your sidebar. So you can see it's actually kind of, in a way, it's got a 5-element locking system. So some of these sliders don't, they're not spring-loaded, they're just gravity fed. But obviously you see that would interfere with the bottom of the keyway when they're sitting there, you know, fed down by gravity. And then if you overset them, if you lift them too high, they'll interfere with the top of the keyway, and they'll catch in that groove up there. The wafers, there you go, there's your 4 wafers. Now the wafers can be, they automatically kind of interface with the top of the top cut, but if you push them too far, if I can get this thing to cooperate, if you push them down too far, they'll interface with the bottom cut. So you see, and these might actually come out. See if I can get that to come out of there. No, not coming out. So there you can see what makes this lock so cool. And when all the sliders are lined up straight and all the wafers are depressed to their right, you know, down position, then the sidebar can depress. All the wafers are straight, the sidebar can depress. That'll hold the wafers in place, or the sliders in place, I mean, rather. And there you go. So that's how this lock works. Really, really interesting. I was captivated by the design when I first saw it. And this is the way it goes, actually. So now you can see how those, I guess the wafers protrude into the bottom of the keyway normally, and then when you insert the key, it would lift them. See, this is the wrong key. So the sliders, this is the wrong key. The sliders are protruding into the top and bottom of the keyway. The sidebar will not depress far enough, and only one of those wafers is a little bit off. So this wafer bitting is pretty close, but the slider bitting is completely wrong. You see there, that one wafer is just slightly out of place. But I bet I could file that spot down on the key. Which one is it? Let's see, the key goes into here. So it looks like it would be this little hump. I could file that little hump down just a hair, and that wafer would fit. Yeah. Well, let's test my theory. Let's just file this guy down just a tiny little bit. And I know I'm totally defacing this old key. And now, the wafer code would probably be just right. So the wafer code's perfect. Oh, and now my key's stuck. Oh no, what have you done? See, I should stop messing. Stop meddling. The cut's not smooth, so the wafers are digging in and snagging. Let's see. Round that out a little bit. So, there we go. The wafer code's right, but the sidebar code is obviously very wrong. You got 2 sticking out of the bottom, they're too low, and you got 1 sticking out of the top. So even though the wafers are all lined up properly, which isn't really the main security element here, it does add to it, of course, but the main security element is these sliders, which cannot be, they have to be set perfectly. They can't be underset, they can't be overset, because the sliders themselves interface with the outside of the lock. And then, if they're not set properly, it also will not allow this sidebar to detract. So it was just a really, really good design. Excellent design on the lock, really cool. This one's probably going to go up for trade. So if anybody's interested, let me know. Let me know what you have to trade. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, I'm going to put a link to the patent information in the description below. And I guess you can't see. Well, yeah, there you go. That looks like a gate, or a false gate. Maybe not. I really wish these things came out so I could look at what they look like on the outside. But, unfortunately, I don't think they do. And I don't want to break the lock, so I'm not going to do too much tinkering. You can see here, if you look real close, you can see here that the core is crimped right there and right there. It's crimped around this sidebar, so the sidebar itself doesn't come out. It's in there. It's completely tightly nestled in and crimped in place, and it just holds everything together. So none of these parts are removable, unfortunately. Although I suppose with that information you could decode your sidebar, your slider cuts. It looks like it would have to be, you know, like this pattern. Like a down up type pattern. And as you can see, the key here doesn't match that at all. Well, I mean, it kind of does, but it's obviously the wrong cuts because it totally leaves everything all locking, pushed out. Sorry about the long video, guys. I'm going to cut it now. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was a blast to pick this thing and kind of inspect it and see what it is, and it was just really cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. If anybody wants this lock, let me know. I'm not giving it away because I did pay for it, and it is pretty rare and collectible, but I would like to see what people might have to offer. So you can leave a comment, and I'll try to find a way to get in direct contact with you. Alright, thank you very much.